We're talking with Bud Brutsman, who is the creator and executive producer of Brentwood Communications International. And Bud, I'm looking forward to this interview because not only are you a car guy, which is what the show Cruise Control is about, and created some great content, but you're a TV guy, something I've been doing for a big part of my life. And you love the military too. So we we got the trifecta there.
Lots of stuff.
I think your story is unique because most of us in TV started. God, I think I did I got $20 for working 24-hour days back to back as a PA, and that's how I started in TV. But you kind of started as an EP, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've never really, I don't know, it's just kind of that way my whole life. I mean, it's not that I want to jump over steps. I figured out a way to become an EP. I figured out what I wanted to do it, of how to do it. I'm like, hey, listen, and I have a certain skill set. I'm not sure if that's a positive thing that allows me to be an EP, get the project, raise the money, fund it. But here's the thing. If anybody knows anything about EPs, we're basically just the head PA, right? Because I was on set last night till 1:30, right? I'm over moving stuff, making sure stuff doesn't get broke. It's just all the responsibility is on us. And I have an amazing team. I have a lot of really good people around us. But yeah, I haven't done anything in this business but EP.
That's pretty cool. Well, one of your big projects, and I've got your list of projects here, but we'll start with the complete history of the Navy SEALs. And you actually got to go to BUDS, the Basic Underwater Demolition School, right? As part of shooting, because you like to be part of it. To really tell the story, you have to be part of what you're telling the story about.
I think it's important with your subject matter that you try to immerse yourself into it. And now let's not get misconstrued. I didn't go all the way through BUDS. and Budweiser.
You could have said it. I would have believed it, but
I was fortunate to go through some of the parts of training with the guys, and just because at the time I thought it was fairly bulletproof, and I wanted to go run and swim, and I went to dive school. I did a lot of fun stuff with the SEAL team guys. We had a lot of CQB training. I think it's there's a misconception sometimes that I always have to I feel I always have to overcome about producers, because they think, oh, you're a Hollywood producer, you're a candy ass. Let's go shoot. And they always joke, and do you want to go swim? Do you want? I'll go. I don't care. You want to go for a run? And the only thing I didn't really do really well with them is drink, because they like to drink.
A lot. Probably, yeah.
Oh, they're 100% bulletproof, and I don't know how they. And then they'll get up the next day and go train. And I somehow did not condition my liver for that.
Did you do drown proofing? To me, that is, my God. I mean, if anyone doesn't know what it is, quick explanation: they tie your hands behind your back, they tie your legs, and you go for a swim in a very deep pool, and you got to basically not die for like a half hour or even more. Even do stuff. I think you have to pick up a swim mask at the bottom of the tank. And you think that's not going to happen to a SEAL. I would think you would be really seriously hurt before you could tie a SEAL's hands behind his back. But it's really a mental exercise more than physical. I mean, if you let your mind drift and you start to panic, you're shot. And that's what makes it an interesting story, because it's mental. You think it's all, I'm going to be, this big guy, I'm going to lift this stuff. And it's a lot of that, but it's really mental, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I was never able. I do drown proofing all the time, and that sounds very strange. I test myself and train myself, and then my son and I do a same thing called a buddy brick program, where you put a cinder block at the bottom of the pool, hold on to it. One guy goes up, takes a breath, comes back down, holds the brick, and the other guy goes up, and you repeat that for like 5 or 10 minutes. It's the same kind of, like you were saying, mental panic exercise, which is don't panic in the water. I've never got to do drown proofing in the SEAL team pool down in BUDS in Coronado. That wasn't, they weren't going to tie me up and throw me in there. I did get to swim in the pool in Houston, which is a whole other thing down in the Space Center down there. Because there's a bunch of group, support SEAL team guys down there doing exercises and support diving for the astronauts who train underwater as a simulation.
Right. To be weightless. Yeah. What did you take away as a producer? I mean, what surprised you?
About SEAL team, it's interesting. Yeah. I just think that and I get a lot of bash for it, but the SEAL team guys are really just the ultimate. You have to be so focused mentally and physically, and I think Bud's training actually weeds out people. Not that they are weak, but it weeds out people that have weak mindsets, weak bodies. Any part of your physiology that's not working in that 6 month period of time, you're going to get rolled out, and you're not going to be part of the teams. I mean, I have so much respect for the guys who go through it because they throw everything at you. You're tired, you're up for 7 days, you're freezing cold, you're lifting heavy stuff, you're going in what's called a rock portage, you're going into a wave and a bunch of rocks and trying to get your head smashed.
Sounds
Mental,
fun.
oh yeah, it's mental and it's physical. And by the way, there people don't understand there's a lot of stuff within our body that we're not in control of, right?
Right.
If you're going to get sick, if you have a weak immune system, or you're susceptible to cold and like freaking out and passing out, they push to build and they push to test and they push to do that. So what amazed me about that process of watching these guys go through buds is just like, the ridiculous person they have that come out the other side. Like you've gone through that. And it's one of their sayings, right? Which is train hard, fight easy. Nothing's as hard as Hell Week, right? So you can go on the
Right.
hunt, go through a mission, you can go do that. Now, obviously, things are a lot different when bullets are flying, but yeah, it's pretty amazing.
If you're editing a show and you have to stay up all night, or if you're trying to put a car together or an overhaul, and I mean, that concept of complete the mission, push through no matter what, find a way to do it. I mean, it's stuff you can use in your life.
Oh, I think I produced a show at a certain stage in my life, or, or a bunch of these special forces show, and I wrote 3 books at a certain stage in my life where it was very impressioned upon me. Right, a lot of these guys inspired me, and you're right. A lot of my drive and a lot of my mindset comes from those guys I met. And I don't say what we do is war.
No, well,
All
hopefully we're not going to die doing it.
Yeah, exactly. All we're doing is doing TV. But yeah, their mindset is definitely infectious for sure.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, we're probably jumping ahead a number of things. I don't want to jump over to that. You actually got involved with cage fighting, right? And promoting it.
Yeah, I started training a lot of jujitsu. Oh boy, it must have been 95, 96, 97, which is 2 or 3 years after the UFC was started. And then I
Hmm.
had a couple opportunities to meet some people, and we ended up launching a cage fighting organization called King of the Cage here in California. When it was illegal, we had to go to Indian reservations. We were promoting and fighting with some of the best guys in the world. Then I started promoting fights in Japan. And then like 2010, 2011, I got another opportunity to head up another organization out of Texas called Shark Fights. So yeah, it's always my passion. I like combative sports. I like fighting. I'm really into jujitsu and organized sports. And by the way, it's always based around TV, right? Because we did
Hmm.
pay-per-views, we sold stuff on DVD, we did all that stuff. So I mean, the MMA world is really big to me.
Well, let's jump it ahead now, and it starts out with rides. I remember one of the great intros of that with the rides logo being kind of laser cut or machined into a piece of steel. That was a great, memorable intro. And that was kind of like your potpourri auto show, a little bit of everything, right? Kind of just what you wanted to do in the automotive world.
Yeah, that's really intuitive. I mean, when I sold rides, it was just really this anthology series, and so the idea is John Hendricks and his son Andrew Hendricks wanted to launch an automotive channel. So when I came up with the term and the kind of anthology series of rides, um, we were pretty lucky, super lucky at the time, because our pilot episode was on Chip Foose, right?
Hmm.
I thought, yeah, I met a bunch of people and talked to some people. I'm like, well, here's this 38-year-old builder. Let's do an episode on him. That'd be great. So we started doing an episode of him, and then we started doing a bunch of episodes. My second episode was with Carol Shelby.
Hmm.
And we did a kind of an inside thing with Ford when they were designing the new Cobra. Um, and then it got such popular thing that they just started asking me, what's the next episode? So it's, not being too weird, is I just decided to do stuff that I like, because I figure if I like it, you would like it, right? So
Somebody else would. Yeah.
and it was really from an enthusiast point of view. Let's go to Bonneville. Okay, well, okay, let's follow and it was because I had TV and I had Discovery behind me. Let's follow, the Pratt Miller team from Corvette.
Yeah.
Watch them build a brand new Corvette for that year, which was I think the C4, the C6, or whatever it was at that time, C6R, and follow them at building it and then racing it. And they're
That's
like,
great.
Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, this is great. And I find myself at Sebring, I found myself in Baja, and I find myself at Bonneville, and we're behind the scenes, building this truck. It's just, it was an amazing. It was 58 episodes. I'm sure many people at Discovery and now Velocity and now Motor Trend all don't want to talk to me because every time I have meetings with them, they're like, "Hey, what do you want to pitch?" I'm like, "We should bring back rides." And they're like, "Okay, can you shut up?" And I'm like, "No, really, you should bring back." I have actually made a recent tape, like as early as like a year ago. Like, here's my new show. Check it out. They're like, "No." I'm like, just,
they're like having a deja vu.
yeah, like stop talking about it. Like eventually you guys are going to figure out that this was the show that started it all. It was the only show kind of like, well, and the other amazing thing about it is it was the first show shot in HD.
Wow. Okay.
Which was one of the reasons we had the signature look, right? So we had the signature look. We were playing with light. It wasn't standard cameras. It wasn't 3/4 inch or beta. It was a real high definition camera. We're shooting all on HD. So now we're playing with light. We're playing with lenses, dipping a little more into the film world. As a fan, I always treated the cars as art, right? And
Sure.
I think it's not. I'm not that big of a fan of cars on grass with lawn chairs. That's not my thing. I want elevated. I wanted to be in a museum or sliding on a track.
Expensive show to do, though. I mean, it sounds like each one was a mini documentary or even just a documentary. You're talking about following the Corvette team for probably over a year, lots of different locations.
Oh yeah, no, all of them. Listen, we were very fortunate. Discovery had the appetite for that, and they have the budget for us, and because respectfully, I mean, most of some are in New York and some are Silver Spring. None of them are car guys. I think they had
Right.
one car guys there, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna go do this." And they're like, "We've never heard of that." I'm like, "Good, okay, check it out." And then we did. I'll tell you the funny story. We did one which was fascinating. So when we got the pilot was Chip, so we did that one, and then we did the second episode, which is actually the first episode of the series
after pilot.
Yeah, was Project Daisy with Carroll Shelby, but the process was, and how I was able to do that with Richard Hudding and all the design people and also the people at Ford, is they were scared to death, and so was I, right? Because I didn't want to blow this chance, and there's this idol that I have, Carroll Shelby, showing up there, Chris Theodore, who was one of the executives at Ford at the time. Of course, he wrote a book about it. There's a whole book called The Last Shelby, or The Last Cobra. I think it's called The Last. I have a copy around here someplace. It's called The Last Cobra, and the whole story of what we did that quarantine kind of using a term everybody's familiar with, that quarantine year, 8 months, we actually built a studio at the design studio. The footage never left.
Oh, wow.
They said they're very skeptical, and they're sitting there like, "How are you going to guarantee this is not going to get out?" I'm like,
right.
Yeah, we'll rent the cameras, leave them here. So, because here's, you don't want to take you don't take the stuff to a lab and get it transferred and dump it on a drive and bring it
up. We'll make a dub, and all of a sudden it's out there.
So we built a studio at the location in Valencia, where the old Ford design studio, which is, by the way, where the 05 Mustang was designed and built, and so the Cobra was built, and Platoon was also, the GT40 was built there too, or at least designed and clay modeled there. And it was just fascinating. You go off in a corner and there's a clay buck of the 05 Mustang. Just wow. What is that? Oh yeah, that's okay. And so we built a studio, and the network kept on asking me, like, "Hey, I want to see a cut." We're like, "You need to fly out here and look at the cut, because we can't say tape in the mail of this, gigantic top secret thing. I have a deal with Ford. I can't do it." So we had executives come out. It was fascinating, and it kind of set the tone. When you get that big of a push, or you get that much luck, or you have that much success early on, with Chip Foose being your pilot, Carroll Shelby being the lead off on your thing, it was like all bets were off. We could do anything we wanted.
You and I live in the car world. I've always been a gearhead, loved drag racing growing up, worked on my own cars, all kinds of stuff like that. But when I got into the TV business, I encountered people that were 45 years old, lived in New York City, and never drove a car, never had a license. And I would then like interview some of these GM executives and that were Midwest guys, and everything was about cars. They were more like us. And they would say, that's impossible. How could somebody be that old and never drive, or never own a car or whatever? I said, it's for real, man. There are people out there that are not, completely into cars, or it's just not a thing.
It is weird. A lot of people who make our advertising decision and our program decisions live in New York, and they don't own a car. Like I could write, I mean, without being disparaging about it, it's like I'm literally getting notes about a car show from a person who doesn't own a vehicle, right? Like, oh, this is so crazy to me. I guess that's better than getting nitpicked all the time. And at the end of the day, our job was really to transfer our knowledge and our passion, our love for this interesting thing, and make it mass appeal. So you could sit down and watch rides. I mean, yeah, obviously rides was just a Bible for us because we get to watch all these amazing people and build these amazing cars. But I think no matter what, no matter where I go, people talk about rides.
You hit on a great point. How do you, and we're going to talk about Overhaulin, which was one of the huge ones for you. And of course, Chip Foose, great guy. He's been on the radio show a couple of times. Always a nice guy. I mean, if his only talent was drawing, he would be great. You'd say this guy's a great artist, but he can take it into fiberglass and sheet metal and make it happen, But, people sometimes don't get it. They're new to the automotive world. You have to make it a mass appeal show. And how do you do that? I mean, I know in TV, every break, you've got to have some drama that you come back to. And, how do you make a TV show about cars, building cars for someone that maybe doesn't know about cars, but says, hey, this is an interesting story?
Well, our version of television is a little bit harder, right? Because, truth be told, we had I won't say that person's name, but it's funny. It's like I threw an executive off the set because you're right. TV has this Kardashian kind of Orange County chopper that there has to be drama. Why don't you do this? And we had a certain executive on set. And again, I won't embarrass that person, even though I'd like to. It'd be fun. Anyhow. And they wanted at the time, they wanted Chris or Courtney to take a hammer and smash the back window accidentally and have Chip get angry at them and say, that's the only one in America. Why did you smash that? And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. So the artificial drama is really right. And and it's also an art. I want to say it's easy, but it's also an art. It's just not my art. Right. And it is super easy just to make artificial drama. Like that's the only one. Our version of television, I feel, is a lot harder because you have to pay attention to grab the stories. And luckily, there was enough, and it's super easy for network executives just to fly out for a day and go, okay, you guys get mad and then make up later. And that's our fun with them. And really, honestly, I got in a big fight with him. I'm like, that's not what we do. Chip is not that kind of person. If you broke the only back window in the history of whatever car it was, and you accidentally broke it, Chip would not be mad at you. Chip would figure out a way to fix it. Chip would figure out how to get another one, or Chip would redesign the car around another window.
Right.
That guy would be yell and scream at you and tell you you're an idiot. I mean, that's what they want. They throw a wrench and tell everybody you're an idiot.
Here, this is a funny thing because I watched another show. I don't know whether I should say it. It was one of the worst shows.
Not mine. I didn't say it. Go ahead.
Oh, and was about the guys that have that junkyard in the desert. And it was sort of like roadkill, but they weren't trying to be roadkill, right? Like they would be, we're going to restore this car. And they'd go and get an engine that'd been sitting in the sand and hang it off the, a crane and start it up and say, yeah, good enough. That works. Put it in the car, or the frame was bent on a car that they said, this car has got to be perfect. The car's done, and the guy's under the car with a torch and a hammer trying to straighten the frame. But that very scene you talking about played out. I remember it was a Barracuda, one of the early Barracudas. It has that big glass window in the back. They're like, whatever you do, don't break that back window. Right. And all of a sudden, like somebody's butt hits a stand and the light stand or something, and smash it smashes. And they're like, oh, it was the only one. It's almost like verbatim what you just said.
By the way, but that's weird.
But then here's the weird thing. Then they have the guy on the confession cam saying, I went to put the window in and it broke. Well, we just saw that like 5 seconds ago. It's like, yeah, I can see that. I can see what happened there. And I was like, wow, that feels so fake, man. That really does not work for me. You know?
Yeah, maybe some people like watching that crap. It's just that's not something we do. We don't produce
Yeah.
it. You know, we were pretty fortunate that Overhaulin was a big hybrid format. And I'll explain what that is. The hybrid format, if you pay attention, if you do the creative stuff up front, then producing is easy. And what I mean by that is if you build a complex format where you already have, I built in a 7-day, ticking clock. I don't have to make anybody fight. That's going to happen anyhow, right? We're building
Right.
it in 7 days, and not a single person. It's funny. Chip and I went to, well, not a single person. I say Chip. 2002, Chip and I, once I created Overhaulin, and Chip was the only one that was going to latch onto that, right? Because in Chip's mind and in Chip's world, anything's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love and adore him to this day because I don't like negative people. I don't like stupid people. I don't like negative people. And if you say, hey, Chip, I need to do that, he will never say no. He'll be like, let me think about it. Okay. And he'll immediately pick up a pencil and start drawing the 5 ways that we could do it within that configuration.
Time frame. Yeah.
Time frame, configuration, budget, whatever. He was the only one to say yes. And then him and I went around to SEMA and we were talking to all our vendors, right? We were talking to everybody, paint manufacturers, tool manufacturers, suspension, chassis manufacturers. Nope, can't do it. My 7 days. No, it takes 7 weeks to do what we do. Like, yeah, well, your cars are going to be crap because you can't do an interior in 7 days. And we're like, yeah, but what if you do this? What if I had it design, cut? You start unwrapping it all, right? And it's really what the show has done to the industry. I mean, a lot of people are mad at me for sure because because we wrecked it, right? The whole thing was car will be done in a year and a half. We're working on these things take time. Like,
right.
Literally, everybody F's me because they're like, hey, all my customers want it done in 7 days. I'm like, it is possible. Trust me. Because I went to 100 people and they're like, no, you can't. Yeah, you can't sand a car. You're not going to wet sand a car 2 hours after pulling it out of the heat booth. Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you put a partner in it, you can do anything. Yeah, we kind of figured it out.
That's neat because I always thought of that. That's like me when I was a kid trying to build a model in one day and the paint's wet, and I ended up with a big thumbprint on the hood, because I was trying to rush. I mean, typically, if you paint a car, they paint it and then they let it sit to cure out, right, for 3 months or so, and then they start thinking about assembly. So this really did push the envelope.
Well, we had good partners. BASF was one of our partners, and we started talking to Jesse over at BASF. Like, what do you do? Like, well, if we put hardeners in it and we bake it, and the very first, I can tell you right now, the very first car we did was the '70 Chevelle. It's kind of a cinnamon color. I remember it very well. We didn't even have a booth to bake in at that time. We were shooting at Mitch Lanzini's. We actually were rolling that thing out in the sun, and then as it kind of got wet or kind of got dry, then we would color sand it and hopefully not burn through it. So yeah, we were definitely pushing all ends of technology, and really we were to be truthful, we were pushing the kind of all the delivery systems and the warehouse systems because that was where the supply problem is all that.
Right.
And we ended up, true story. I personally ended up with 4 or 5 sets of codes and keys where I could go into certain warehouses and get stuff.
Wow.
Like, BF Goodrich was so in love with our show back then. They finally just gave me the gate key to a warehouse in Ontario and said, whatever you want, just tell the guard you're taking it. And this is the curse of Chip Foose, right? Because that idiot will end up making a tire size choice like at 3 o'clock in the morning the day before.
Right.
Because he doesn't know. He'll look at
it needs to look right, though.
It's got to look right. And we'll have one set. He'll put a guy, yeah, these are not it. And he'll just take them apart. He's like, I need a new set of tires. And they're like, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, okay, I know.
Bud, you've got those keys, don't you?
Well, I had the key. We had it. It wasn't quite that simple, but it was like I knew the gate guard at the BF Goodrich warehouse, which is way out in Ontario, and I knew I could get tires from him. He knew who we were. he had to make a couple phone calls. I had to wake some executives up um, in the middle of the night, and they didn't like that anymore. And then finally, it's like, whatever he wants, just tell him not to call me. Just give it to him and make him go away. And that's really was how our early started.
Cool. And I like how you always work the story of the car in. That's great. I mean, because as car people, we understand they are emotional things. They trigger a lot of thoughts. Maybe it was started where somebody's no longer around, and I think that's good. That's great storytelling.
Yeah, again, so we had that. We always tell the backstory of the car because the cars are connective tissue between people, right? And
Sure.
everybody, I do car shows, and they kind of throw me into that moniker, which is fine. I'm okay with it now. But for a while I battled it. Like, no, you could do this with anything. I mean, cars are definitely a big part of our lives, and a part of everybody's lives because I look at people's eyes like, oh, my dad used to have a truck like that. My
Yeah.
dad just like that, and it's kinetic. They feel it and they smell it. It's visceral. And then we also had one thing that we ended up evolving, and it just ended up by the design of the show is we had to prank this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also had to keep them pranked and keep them going and keep them on the hook for 7 days, right?
Right.
Which I'm not sure if people can appreciate is that we really had to, and we had a lot of help from insiders and stuff like that. But to me, it was an old magic trick, right? So I studied magic a little bit, but I studied it enough that if you force someone down a direction, right? So if you steal someone's card and you have this detective calling you, that's your way how you're going to communicate to get your car back. And
Right.
then about midway through, not to give you any secret, midway through, we end up, okay, we spotted your car. Okay, good. I got hope I can get my car back. A couple days later, lost your car. And then the last day we found your car and come get it. And it's the overhaul. So there was that drama that behind the camera, you're watching, we, 10 feet away, we're sanding and putting a new motor in this guy's car. Chris and AJ are there pranking him and just burying him, telling that we lost your car, it's destroyed.
You did a couple where you had a similar model car that was destroyed or burned out or something. It's like torturing the guy.
All I do is think, and this is just a part of my life, all I do is think how to torture people. But yeah, we did that. We did a sheriff where I literally bought a 64 convertible T-Bird and we crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
It just, all the pieces kind of fell together, honestly. And that was actually kind of an evolution of another prank because I'm good friends with Dennis Anderson, who's grave digger, and he was in town one time, and we were gonna have kind of a fake car show and bring someone's car out, have grave digger smash him. The timing didn't work out, but I'm always thinking about like, how am I gonna absolutely just mess with something?
You mean give the guy free tickets to the monster truck show and say, hey, we've got this special car we're going to crash and have him run over it? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're the trophy car, and then the monster truck, rolls off and ends up smashing it. But we always had big grandiose ideas of how to mess with people.
Where is the show now? Is the last season was 2019? Is it coming back at all? Anything you can announce about that, or?
Well, we just it was really weird. So it was really 2020 is when our last season got air. We got greenlit in 2019. We did 12 full episodes to help launch the Motor Trend app. And we did that early October, November 2019. And then it went on the linear channel, which is Motor Trend Linear, just recently. There was our final episode, and this is always kind of a fun trick of mine, but our final episode of this season, right? Season 10 or 11 or whatever it was. We ended up doing Shaquille O'Neal's car, and
Mm-hmm.
that just finished that one. I mean, literally, without making everybody too depressed, but really what happened is we finished his car early January, and then we had to wait because it's hard to move Shaq, and I'm sure people in the NBA know that more than I do. It's hard to move Shaq around the country when he doesn't know he needs to be someplace. So we had to wait till he was out here in Los Angeles because he does TNT NBA back in Atlanta. And then the Kobe Bryant incident happened, right? So he was out here, but as you know, it's just not good timing. We're not
No.
going to, sorry, you had to bury your friend and this horrible tragedy happened. And
We got this shoot. Yeah.
I told your car, I need you to come pick it up. So we waited quite a long time. And the network was, like I told him, I remember I was with some network executives in New Orleans, and I'm like, I can't do anything. Like, there's no way I'm gonna. I'd be like, it's just, I don't feel good about coaxing him out. And literally that night, like that happened like Tuesday or Wednesday, that night on Thursday night, TNT, him and Charles and everybody were like mid-court crying for an hour and a half
Right. Right.
on TV. And I'm like, oh, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
So we ended up like a month and a half later, he was out here for something else. We ended up getting him, pranked him, and ended up giving his car. He couldn't have been more gracious. We built him a 64 Impala, and we put Kobe's number on it. In the back, one of the emblems, and it was very touched by it. So that was our final episode of season 12. I think it was season 12. Yeah, that's our final episode of season 12 that we just finished production, and then the world came to an end. So, love it to come back. This show always comes back. It's just one of those things that it's really driven by the fans. Fans love it internationally and domestically, and they keep on pushing.
It's Bud Brutsman's I Love Lucy. That's what I call it. Like it's on somewhere in the world at some time, any time of the year, any time of the day, there's probably an Overhaulin episode playing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we did this they asked me to do some stuff this season, which is the last season, for the kind of like web stuff. So we created a show called Inside Overhaulin. And all it was a very simple concept, low budget. It was me, Chris Jacobs, and Chris, right? And we're really the three idiot pranksters, right? And I got to tell you a funny story. And then you should watch these because it's called Inside Overhaulin, and you can download it on it's actually available now on the Motortrend app. But really what happened is it was originally, because I'm never on camera, it was originally just Chip and Chris. And we would ask them like, hey, how did this come about? And I remember we're sitting there shooting like the first scene. They're like, oh, I think this happened, this happened, this happened. And I look at them like, no, that's not how it happened. It happened like this. Like, that's not, you guys. So, but here's the thing. They're building cars. He's hosting a show. I'm pulling the puppet strings from behind, setting things up and getting things in motion. And finally they said, you need to sit on the couch. So I'm like, all right, I'll sit on the couch. All right. Just to keep you guys honest. You're not just rewriting history for no apparent reason. So we sat on the couch and it's great. We all have great chemistry. We've been together for 18 years. Is it 18 years? Oh my God. Yeah, it's terrible.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 17 or 18 years we've been together, the three of us on every single episode. And we started telling stories about how, our favorite episodes, the scary episodes, how we almost got Chip shot one time, which was kind of scary. We had a lot of crazy stuff.
That's a great way to create content, and the inside stories. People appreciate that. They always appreciate that, whether it's going behind the making of a music video or the making of Overhaul.
Okay, so it's like after the rose ceremonies, we have this crazy talk show that we're on there. I'm on there just doing what I normally do, which is talk shit and tell everybody what's happening. But people want to know. People like to hear the behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think one of the best things you guys did, I remember at SEMA, you built the tent and you built a car during SEMA kind of to prove like, yeah, this is a real show. And I remember going out there. I think the show had ended. And of course, there was a bunch of dinners and parties and that I was going to. But it was like a cold night, kind of a chilly night. And I thought, I walked over there and it's like what my dad would say, all just asses and elbows, everybody working, doing whatever, And I thought this is going to be cold to work on it. And then I think about midnight, I walked across the parking lot and people were still working. And I thought, wow, it's a long night and a lot to do in a short time to get it done.
Yeah. My partnership and business relationship with SEMA is incredible. I mean, they're an amazing group of people. They appreciate what I do. And I do a lot of experiential marketing and stuff with them. So we came together and like, I had a lot to prove at that time too. And we had a lot to prove to a lot of people. It's like, is this done in 7 days? Well, you can come and see. So we had to move the circus, legitimately move the circus. And people forget, like at that time, the front parking lot of SEMA was nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And SEMA was thinking about like, how do I expand our footprint? We have more stuff going on than we normally do. And we have this parking lot. I remember I was able to park my car out there at one point as a parking lot. Like I got a special little gold pass and I'd go pull up right in front of the building and walk out. And now, so I designed this, if you remember correctly, I designed a red carpet that came off the front of the entrance and it angled right into our tent. And we had all of our sponsors were around there and had MagnaFlow. And at the time, Dodge was our sponsor. We had all these sponsored trailers around. We created our little kind of TV village out there. Now the hard part is, we had to do it live. We had our K-rail, we had our bleachers, we had this whole thing set up. And SEMA, I remember I drew it out. I had my brother do a CAD drawing of it, and I showed it to SEMA, said, I want you to build me this, and then we'll bring the TV show here.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing that probably 4 or 5 different times. And the hardest part for us, because D-Day or reveal day for us is always flexible, right? We say 3:00, and then we know Chip pushes the envelope to like 7 or 8 or 9 or sometimes midnight. As he's doing little details. But part of my deal was, and I remember the very first year, we did it inside up at the top of South Hall in this little alcove. And I remember Chris Kirstein pulled up beside me, and then we're on the set of bleachers, and my version's much, but there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 people in the bleachers, and the bleachers were rocking back and forth, getting ready to watch this guy's life to change, because we just rebuilt his Mustang. He had a 70 Mustang. 514 Gambler was the name of that episode. And then, like, this is a real thing. Like, people are sticking around, and people would walk back out there, check on the progress of the car. And what we did is we revolutionized a lot of things, like how we paint a car. Like, I don't know. Like, okay, so I called AFC, this guy named Les Laughlin, who's amazing at AFC. I'm like, ever built a paint booth? He's like, yeah, my guys can do it in like a day. All right. So
Wow.
how do we get heat to a paint booth? Portable tank. All right, so we do a portable tank. I'm going to have AFC build a paint booth in a parking lot. And I had the old guy who I love, his name is Chuck Swartz, who used to run Convex, who was the head of logistics for SEMA. You can't do that. Fire marshal will never do. You can't do it. Like, everything was you can't do. I'm like, no, I think we can do this. I'd contact the fire department, tell them what we're doing. It's a downdraft booth. We're not exploding it. It's a gigantic propane tank, but it's still a propane tank. It's not we're doing bonfires.
There's probably some guy cooking hot dogs that has a propane tank somewhere around there out front, right?
And the connections are fine. Here's your permit. So we built a paint booth on site, which, by the way, now it's done every convention everywhere. Everybody's building paint booths, right? But first time we were welding out there. We are doing our own paint booth. And Chip and I will sit down. It's like, how do we pull this off? Well, we have a paint booth there. Then we could, pull the thing apart, shove it in there, prime the body, pull it back out, get stuff started. So we had our own paint booth on site. We didn't want
cool.
Where are you going to go? So we had to do all that stuff. And, it was a big success. And with people watching this live at the time, this live TV show just come to life. And, there's Chris and AJ and Chip, and they're doing all this stuff. It was great. It was great for sponsors. It was great for the network. And really the network, I remember bringing the network out there. Like, what is this? Like,
yeah, it is. It is the show, man. You feel like you're part of the tribe when you're out there, because it is anyone and everyone, everything. Every car is amazing. I still don't understand why people wait to the last minute to thrash their car together. Not your show. I'm talking about guys that know, hey, I've got to build this car for whoever, and it's got to be in their booth. But I think that's just part of it. They just want to do it and thrash away, sort of like the guys between rounds of the drag race. They just got to thrash it together. So let's talk a little bit about off-road racing. And once again, Bud Brutsman, of course, who's Brentwood Communications International, their EP creator. You have done something that's great, because you found a way to turn one of your passions into part of your business, right? And BAJA 1000, you really got into that kind of racing.
Yeah. I not proud of it. It's more of an addiction. But yeah, we one of the episodes we got early on, BF Goodrich asked me if I wanted to come down and chase for at the time I didn't know, but a pretty famous team called the Terrible Herps. And they were sponsoring the Terrible Herps that year. It's probably 2003, 2004.
That's a car company out in California, right? Terrible Herps?
No, Terrible Herps is they have like 60 or 70 gas stations in Nevada.
Gas stations.
They have gas stations in Nevada. They have a fabrication shop, but that's really just for their race trucks. It's funny is that now the younger generation of Herps, so Riley Herps, Riley Herps is racing in K&N series and also the Infinity series in NASCAR. So he's coming up strong. Pierce Herps, I believe this she is racing tomorrow. I'm flying down tomorrow to the Baja 500. I'm filming that for ESPN, and he's racing. So it's now the third generation of Herps are coming down to race. So yeah, BF Goodrich asked me if I could follow them, and I don't know. It's where military and mixed martial arts and racing and cars all collide, right? Because you have You have logistics, you have skill, you have racing. There's also no holds barred. It's desert racing, so you're bumping people out of the way. You're changing stuff on the side of the road. It's just insane, right? And then I was fortunate enough to race it in 2005. I think it was maybe my first year. I raced it for 2005. We went down there and raced it on a kind of a celebrity team, and I was hooked. I was like, I came back to him like, okay, well, let me tell you now, whatever I have to do to get back in that seat again, because we got tortured that year. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do this. I have to figure this out because it was so much fun, and I was tired, I was beat up, and it was dangerous and all these things. And then about a week later, I'm like, I got to go back and do that, at a certain level. So yeah, and then it just happens around me a lot as the media part of me kicks in, and I end up making really good friends with Sal Fish, the owner at the time. Worked very closely with Mark Gruber, who you've been on your show before. And I ended up getting in 2008 onto the development team for the Ford Raptor, and we raced in 2008 for the Baja 1000. And it was amazing. I mean, it was just, I don't know. It's just, I look back at it now. I'm like, I drove the prototype Raptor in the Baja 1000 for 17, 18 hours.
Raptor is an amazing vehicle. I mean, it's weird that it is so capable off-road, yet when you drive it on the road, it's one of the smoothest riding pickups around. It is pretty amazing that, and we always say on cruise control, like you could not build that truck for the price they sell it. If you went out and bought a pickup truck and said, okay, I'm going to go with all the shocks and everything else, you couldn't do it. It's such a value really from the factory. It's expensive, but it's less expensive than building it yourself, I think.
Yeah, to get a desert capable pre-runner, what that thing is. And I remember very clearly, I was talking to Jamal Hamidi, and he's like, we are legitimately developing a off-road capable, overpriced F-150 instead of the middle of a recession. This is not very responsible, and we think it's going to fail. But let's put the race team together. Let's do a movie. Let's do a couple commercials and see where this thing goes. They had no clue. I promise you. I was in the middle of all of it. They're like, it's maybe one of every 11 F-150s is going to go out. We're not going to make that many of them.
Right.
Gas was $5 a gallon, and this thing's got a 6.2 motor in it. It's like, this thing is never going to go. And it is absolutely, it's absolutely the best SVT, special vehicle market vehicle ever released by Ford.
Yeah. And it's so good that we had the guys from Ram on talking about their TRX a couple of weeks ago with a Hellcat engine. It's so good. Other manufacturers are building competitors, and Ford has already said we're going to build something with even more horsepower. So.
Yeah, they're trying. I know, Chevy came out with their Rebel, Dodge is doing their TRX, TRD Pro came out with some stuff, but the lightning in the bottle that was the Raptor it was that iconic benchmark. Ford.
Yeah.
Listen, hats off to Ford and Jamal and all those guys that were down there, and the way that we tested it and the way we did it, it was the right time.
Locals, when you have a jump on the road, that they would dig a pit on the other side of the jump, so your truck would be wheels up, it would come down, and instead of just landing and going, it would kind of just, you would go in and you'd end up flipping over and over again. Not to be name dropper guy, but Jesse James told me that when he ran it. That's what happened to him.
Yeah, what happens a lot is the locals, and listen, it's like I said, it's the Wild West, right? So the locals and those of us who have almost died in one of those accidents.
I think you could. Yeah, I think it's a real possibility.
I hit one, and you by the way, you only do it once, and if you survive it, then you figure it out, right? I hit one about 80 miles an hour on my left side, and what they'll do, they'll do a jump. They'll jump half across the road. They'll dig a hole and fill it full of water. So when you hit it, you just like nose into the hole. And they really, and I say this, I got to tell you a lot about the Mexican people because I love them. But I hit one about 80 just on the left side of my car. So they only did it halfway through. They only did half. So I had the left side of the car. So I went airborne. Left side was airborne. I'm coming down. I didn't panic. I bounced on my right side, flattened it out, steered away, and got out of it. And I think I started breathing probably 2 or 3 minutes later. What was that? Now, the lead up to that is once you have these wacky near-death experiences, you start to replay it in your brain, right? And I can tell you this, I'll just do it in slow motion for you. It's fun. You're driving, right? I'm driving and I'm doing 80 and then you're seeing people and you off to your right, you see a bunch of people and they're bonfires and they're throwing towels and they're telling you to go faster. Like, oh, those bunch of fans. Off the left side, there's another whole group of people and they have bonfires and beers in their hands and their shirts are off and they're waving their shirts, telling you to go faster and faster, right? And in any normal world, you go faster because it's a jump and they want to see you jump. No, they set up a booby trap and they want to see you wipe out. Now, here's the difference because I love the Mexican people and I want to misconstrue. This is just part of the sport. It's just part of the fun for them, right? And once you wipe out, I'm not joking, most of them will put their shirts back on and most of them will put their beer down and come roll your car over and help you out and give you first aid. You'll wheel it off to their truck and they have tools to help you fix your car and you're on your way. You're not even thinking, because you're usually upside down, you're not even thinking like, these are the bastards who just tried to kill me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not thinking, oh my God, we just tried to kill that guy, let's run. They're like, oh yes, and you're stupid. You know, jump to help you, right? So that's it's definitely part of the, you learn, see a crowd of people, they're not standing there for no reason. They're not looking at each other.
They're not like rally fans waving. Like,
no. You think they're rally fans. They want you to be stupid and hit the jump and see how far, see if your car can take it and see if you can control it. And more often than not, you know, you don't.
What happened to your truck? Was this the Raptor that you did this in?
No, I was running a wide open BC car, which is a Subaru Boxster motor car, wide open. No, nothing happened to my car. I just hit the jump, bounced on the front tire, landed, and took off.
And the crowd went, "Oh man!"
No, I mean, it's even better. I kind of tiptoed on one wheel, the front wheel. I bounced it and then landed and took off.
No lifting, just wide open. Just stay in it.
Listen, I promise you, I want to say that it was conscious, but it was subconscious. The worst thing you do in that scenario is lock up the brakes. You lock up the brakes, you start tumbling, right? But you don't, I promise you, when you're airborne sideways and you see ground coming at you, you're not in control of your feet. You're technically not in control of any part of your body. And somehow I didn't hit the brake. All I did was just hold on to the steering wheel and hope we didn't roll.
How do you cover that from a TV standpoint? I mean, I know they used to do like helicopters and things like that. Today, I guess you could do drones, but or you just put a bunch of GoPros by these pits that these guys create, and it's like that's it. We're just gonna cut that together like the Russian dash cams on YouTube.
You know, it's difficult logistically. I mean, it's. I can tell you the funny story. So we have figured out a way to cover Baja, right? We do have 3 live drones we put up there. We do live feed. Tomorrow we're going down there doing live feed on scoreinternational.com. We're doing a live feed for the contingency. And then our race will be live streamed. And we have 5 or 6 cameras, a couple on our host, and then some down course that are attached to drones, which then are attached to satellites, then get shot back. I mean, the technology is awesome. We have, at any one time, we have between 10 to 20 helicopters up. We get footage from them. We have maybe 15 or 16 shooters around the course. And then we'll all come together and go down to San Diego and collect all the footage. We probably have 75 to 85 GoPros in each, you know, all stationed in each of the cars when they come across the finish line. Half of them I don't get back, by the way. You know, car breaks or catches on fire, which has happened thousands of times. I end up losing, you know, GoPros. So we definitely cover it the best way we can. Funny story in 2013. So my close friend Roger Norman bought Score. So he bought it from Sal Fish. Sal Fish retired. Roger Norman ended up buying Score, and he came to me and said, "Hey, we got to get this thing on TV." Great. So him and I went to every sports network in the planet. And we flew around the country and tried to get this thing launched on TV. Really couldn't get it launched on TV. And then it was probably October of 2013. ESPN calls me and says, "Hey, we have a slot open. They didn't pick up our show as a general, but like we really want to do a special on the Baja 1000." I said, "Great, this is amazing. Okay, good." So so we set up a production call for the next day. So I sat down with 3 or 4 of their producers on a conference call, and I said, "Okay, here's what you need to do." And listen, I've done a lot of logistics, and I've been racing for a long time, and I probably speak a different language. Let me just say that, especially to a bunch of guys in Connecticut. So I just tell them, here's what you got to do. You got to get these kind of pre-runners, go to this insurance. You got to go here. You're going to go to pit one. Then you're going to take the trail over here and you're going to get this trail over there. And you got to have this kind of helicopter. You got to have this over this. And I start telling them like all these things they're going to need to help them budget this thing. So 2 days later, the guy calls you back. His name's Tim Reed at ESPN, says, yeah, I don't know what you said, but you scared the hell out of them. They don't want to do it now.
Oh, God.
Like, no, I'm trying to scare them. I'm just trying to tell them, like, hey, let's be prepared. Here's the stuff that's happening. Here's how you have to cover the race.
Yeah, you're not going to shoot it with 2 GoPros and 1 crew.
Yeah, you're going to have to do this. And he goes, can you shoot it?
You personally?
Oh, yeah. No, he asked me if my company can shoot it. So
yeah,
I said, hell yeah, we can shoot it. So literally within a week, we put the plan together and got a crew together, and we ended up getting that 2013 Baja 1000 as a 2-hour special on ESPN. So, and we have a great ESPN and ESPN2 are amazing. You know, we're on now our all of our score races. Well, not this year, but the one we're shooting tomorrow, the Baja 500 will be on ESPN, the World of X.
Oh, that's cool. That's amazing. That's an amazing combination: automotive story, racing story, and television production story there. When I was preparing for this interview, I watched some of your series, The Fixers, and completely different than what we've been talking about, but just great TV. And the idea is, here's a problem. Let's send some people in and fix it. I watched the one about the water well and then the veterans dog rescue. Really nice TV, something completely different. I bet a lot of people don't really know you do a lot of projects that are not automotive related or even sports related. I mean, this is just good TV, nicely shot, nicely put together.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We partnered with BYU TV, and we were able to do this show called The Fixers. And our pilot episode was really funny because it was kind of the combination of all of my world together. Our pilot episode was in Baja, Mexico, and we ended up building a vocational school for orphans. And it's really, it was just a combination. Where can we go that's international? Where can go? We have connections. I contacted a bunch of my contacts down in Mexico because of the racing. It's like, hey, what do you have? Who do you know? And they're like, you got to go to this place called Mount Olive. And what Mount Olive does is they're not babies, they're not kids, but they're kind of tweens and teenagers, right? And the problem is when these kids age out and they're 18, 19 years old, and they're living at the orphanage, you got to prepare them for life skills, right? So, in Mexico especially, you can go a long ways if you know some mechanics. If you know some mechanics and you have some vocation, you can learn stuff. So literally, we built a race shop down in Mexico.
Wow.
At this orphanage for these kids. And it was, 4 bays, and it had a lift in it. And we had tools and welders, and these kids are going down there. And part of the show is not only do I have to, we go down there, we come up with the design, we work on it, but we also have to make sure that it has longevity, right? So part of my interview process is like, okay, I'll build this, but who's going to come teach the class? Oh, this guy's Marco, and he races the Baja 1000. Okay, good connection. So this guy, Marco, is a shop teacher. And without telling stories, as part of it, lost his son. And now he spends a lot of his time teaching kids the vocation, how to work on cars and how to do stuff and you do it initially to be self-sustaining. So you're not spending $800 to change to change their hub on your Volkswagen. But then a lot of them, if they really get into it, they can get a mechanic job. So imagine if you're in Baja, Mexico, you're in an orphanage, a lot of things are against you, but you learn something, you learn a trade, right?
Right.
Heaven forbid you get picked up by a trophy truck team and you're making real money and you're racing in the biggest race in the country. So a lot of, that was kind of the confluence of a lot of my passions and love. And Fixers premieres October 21st. Our second season premieres.
Oh, great.
Next month, October 21st on BYU TV. And they also have a streaming app. You can just download and stream it. Yeah, we went to Nicaragua, and it's interesting. We take a lot of things for granted in the world, right? So we went to a San Luis. I think it was right outside of in Nicaragua. We went to a small little village, and they had no water, honestly. And these people would have to dig these 75 or 100-foot hand-dug wells, and there are certain times, 3-4 months, there was no water. And really, just for like $10,000, we were able to find a water truck, which is a drilling rig, And it seems insurmountable to them, with a pickaxe and a shovel or a spoon and a fork. And I'm not being facetious about that, to dig a 235-foot well. But we ended up figuring out and partnering with a company and brought them out there. And they drove up. And we drilled a 275-foot aquifer, and we ended up. And by the way, there's all kinds of crazy politics that goes on. It's like, where do we put it? Do we put it over here? Do we put it over there? So found some neutral ground, some land, built it on a school, and we built a water wall. And the water walls for drinking, and then there's spigots for farming, and it's plentiful. I mean, you can drink it. I mean, it is the most fascinating thing in, it was 2019, and I remember her name is Ruby, we opened it up. We opened up the thing and had a clear glass of water that was crystal clear. And we handed it to her, and she looked at it and she just chugged it. So it's the first glass of water she's ever had. And it's so sad and so amazing.
Yeah.
We have people right now that just don't appreciate what we do and how we live and what we're doing here.
Yeah.
This little girl's never even seen a clean glass of water. And we were having, there were some older ladies in the community would come by, and they would just stare at this water. And we have to look at them like, it's a lot of confidence. Like, go ahead, you can drink it. It's fine. I'll drink it. It comes from the earth. It's 275 down.
It's clear. It's clean. Yeah. You're right. You don't think about that, but I think that's a great show, and people should really check it out. It's called The Fixers on BYU TV, and there's a lot of episodes online too. I found really, really just nicely done, good stories, and there's a problem and people fix it. And as you said, you fix it with the idea that it's not just, hey, we're here, we get a nice shoot, and it will work for a week, and then we go away. I mean, it's a real life-changing scenario. I also like the one with the veterans and the dogs. I think that was great too.
Yeah, we did. Well, obviously, it has to do with things that I love and things that I like. The veterans and the dogs was amazing. We want to do a veteran organization. We found an organization called Shelter to Soldier, ran by this amazing guy who saves dogs out of kill shelters. Goes there, certain types of dogs, if he can save their life, he saves their life, brings it back, puts thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and hours into training, and then he gives that to a soldier who is dealing with PTSD. So they kind of save each other's lives. And when they meet and when they kind of understand each other, like, this guy has PTSD and a lot of issues. This dog is literally 24 hours from getting euthanized. So you kind of bring these two guys together, and there's just this understanding that they're there together, and it was awesome. So to do something for that organization was amazing.
Yeah, and just once again, big change for that organization. They had a great facility to work with. Completely different gear change here. Personal cars. Do you still have that cool Firebird? That Trans Am, year one.
Oh, well, again, that just doesn't narrow it down. I have a lot of cars. So my wife has a 68 year one Firebird that we built in one of the shows, right? It has LS3 in it, Detroit Speed Engineering. And then I have my 78 Bandit Trans Am that we built for Burt Reynolds in year one. I did a deal with year one. They're one of the greatest companies on the planet. They're amazing. Kevin King over year one. But we built that car. Yeah, it's sitting in my garage right now.
Wow, that is a great car. That was the car for a long time. I remember we had a friend of the family, a guy was pretty well off. The son bought a 74, which you think, 74, things getting detuned and all that, but it was a SD 455. I remember when he got it, and the first thing he did was pull the interlock out for the seatbelt. Because back then they delivered them where you had to wear the seatbelt, otherwise the engine wouldn't start. But I love they're going back to that, believe it or not. They're going to go back to that. But just a great car. I love that car. That and the 70 Camaro, with the just the bumperettes in the front. They're two of my favorite F bodies.
Yeah, you're definitely a Chevy. Look, you have the Corvette, and there's a Charger over there. I don't see a Ford.
Here, and there's the Bullet is over here. Mustang's over here, in the auxiliary garage over here.
Called the Cobra. That's an AC body. That's an early one. That's an AC body. That's not real.
Yeah. That one needs a little resto. That die cast. Maybe it can be a future overhaul. Overhaul and die cast edition.
64 overhauling.
But what else do you have? What else do you tend to go for, US muscle type stuff, or what do you got?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not I'm not a douchey European sports car guy. I love American muscle. I think a lot of it has to do with your upbringing, right? What you're growing up around, and your parents do influence you. If
Sure.
your dad thinks Chevy is crap, then subconsciously you walk away like Chevy's crap. If your dad says, fix or repair daily or found on road or whatever, found on road dead,
Road Dad, yeah.
that just buries into your psyche. As much as you don't want your parents to influence you, it influences you. So I have a lot of Fords. Today, ready for this?
Mhm.
Today, the next hour, as soon as I get off with you, I'm going to go look at another 1969 Mach 1 Mustang.
Wow.
I'm going to go check it out. I think I'm going to purchase it today. Not that I need another one. I have a couple. I have a pretty famous one called Blackened, um, which I built. I had that built like year one in 2006. And my personal opinion, because it's my personal life, you can see my office and everything like that, is it was one of the early murdered out cars, right? Black bumper,
Right.
black everything. I mean, there's no chrome on it. It's Chip helped work on it. Year one delivered. It's a 4.6 mod motor out of a 2004 Boss, 2004 GT. Um, it's an amazing car. It's called Blackened. You can look online. There's photos of it everywhere. It's the first car that I ever had that ended up in Hot Rod magazine. So I have that one, but that one's too perfect to drive almost. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pick up this other 69, which is it's allegedly not restored. Really nice car.
So it's a Survivor,
Might be. I don't know. I have to see. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen photos, so we'll see.
but it's not perfect.
Yeah, not perfect. Might be a
Yeah.
good. Might be a good driver. We'll see.
We always talk about on the show. People are like, "Oh, I bought this car. It's amazing. It only has 20 miles on it." And first of all, it's been sitting in a barn and it's probably, in bad shape. But I wouldn't want to buy something like that because you ruin the uniqueness of driving it. I'd rather drive it.
Yeah, you
And
gotta drive them.
it's okay if it has a few little blemishes on it. It's just have fun with it. That's always my view. If you're going to buy a classic car, buy something that's running and that you can drive. And might not be perfect, but have some fun with it. And then see if you want to do more to it. I don't
Yep.
know. I think what are some of the future projects you're working on now? I know you were doing some shooting here the last couple of days.
Oh yeah, I'm doing a very big. Um, can't tell you too much about it, but a very big Back to the Future DeLorean episode or limited series on Discovery Channel. We're in the middle of producing that right now. It was held off for COVID. It should have been out already, um, but we finally got back into running in production on that one. So that's good. And I have 30 or 40 different shows at different levels at different networks. I mean, I'm always pitching and I'm always talking to networks, and they take a long time. So, 30 or 40 sounds like a lot, but it's not. I mean, I'm on the phone with networks every single day, kind of figuring out their needs and wants and what they want, and really trying to figure out this new kind of the new landscape we have, which is partially streaming and
Mm-hmm.
one's coming back. So we're always doing new stuff. Discovery's been a great partner of mine, so I'm looking forward to doing this big special that I'm doing on Discovery. So that one we're doing finally back up and running as of tomorrow with the Baja 500 and Baja 1000, which will be on ESPN. So that's coming out. And we have a fixtures episode we're doing in Wyoming at the end of the month. Then, ready? Drum roll. Somehow magically we were able to take our Battle of the Builders. And the last part of this that we should talk about Battle of the Builders and how amazing Battle of the Builders is and why. And I'd like to hear your perspective on it, right? So we are producing Battle of the Builders this year for SEMA. I was able to convince them that, hey, SEMA's got to have some TV, and you have all these people who are out there building these cars, and we can have an outlet, and I can do it safely. I figured out a way to how to get the cars out here. So we are going to do the long, the big part of the 200 to 300 weeding down to the top 40. We're going to do a lot of that virtually, and
Mm-hmm.
our judges then are going to call and go over on Skype calls the builders' cars with them. pick our top 12. The top 12 are coming out to Los Angeles with the builders. And then that way we'll have the peer on peer kind of judging. Tanner's going to host, AJ's going to host. We're doing it at a kind of a secret location in downtown LA in a warehouse. And we're going to have all that build, and that'll end up being on the History Channel. So Battle of the Builders is back and it's alive, and we were able to make it survive through it, because it and this is kind of my point to you, is like Battle of the Builders, I created it 7 years ago, and it's really from what you did and what I do is you walk around SEMA and you see all these amazing cars, and people spent thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're just like, bloop, there it is, right? Representing a brand, representing something. I don't know what happens to these cars. So where do they go and what do they do? It's like, so now it's like, you can enter the Battle of the Builders, and it is literally, as it says in the show many times, the only place that an Amber winner and a Riddler winner and a Hot Rod Streetcar of America, was like all the best of the best cars can go, because the only criteria is that you're at SEMA.
Mm-hmm.
Then they all get put into a room, and then the builders get to judge them, right? So no one else is judging them. It's not, you can't say the judges are biased. You can't say you didn't like this. It's like, you literally have to stand in front of 11 other guys who know what you went through to get that car done. And guess what? You can't BS them. Like, this is welded out of that. We did this over here. They know,
Right.
what a shortcut is. They know all the stuff that you have to do to get it done. And it has become, for me, and I've been just about every car show, but it's become the premier car event where people are going to showcase their cars. People now call me all the time. It's like, I'm building a car for Battle of the Builders. How do I get in? Right. And people at SEMA are signing up just to put a car in. And the other thing too, that's happening too, is that the vendors some of the criteria for the vendors is your car entered in Battle of the Builders? So it's not only I'm going to give you the car, but you also have to enter the Battle of the Builders, because it's such a media blitz behind them.
Sure.
Television hype you get, you beat all your other people. It's just I don't know. It's a great little piece, and we're end up doing it again this year.
Yeah, and as you said, the neat part is it's other builders judging other builders. So it's not just bringing in some celebrity that says, "Oh, I like that color. I always like red," or something like that. It's like, no, look at the work that this guy went into. He could have just easily fiberglassed over this, but he didn't. He fabricated a piece to go over here or whatever. And that's good. I mean, that's real judging. That's people who know. And you also have like a young guns group there too, because let's face it, guys our age make up most of this car stuff, and we want it to continue. And it's good to get young folks in there.
Yeah, that was a big push from SEMA as the show started to evolve. I mean, they were constantly pushing me for young guns, right? And young guns is 25 and younger, and they couldn't afford, nor do they have the skill set to be up there with, the Bobby Alloways and Chip Foose and Troy Lads and those guys of the world. So we kind of gave them their own category, and they have a nationwide search. We really do a push to find this young talent, and that's what SEMA does: find young talent, give them accolades, give them the kind of wherewithal and the exposure where brands are coming to them and builders are coming to them and customers are coming to them. So yeah, Young Guns is a huge focus, and I couldn't even imagine. I mean, when I was 25, I wasn't building cars like that. It's crazy. They're building great looking cars.
I was working on my Nova in my garage and, just doing whatever I could, putting a new manifold on it or putting a 4-barrel on it or changing the exhaust. That was about it. It was good for me. I liked it, but it wasn't a Chip Foose level car, but that's okay. It's still part of it. But what do you think future of car shows? And this is a bigger question, and you might find this goofy. As I'm a New York guy, I come out to California. I can feel the car culture. Like I feel it when I come out there. And you look at California talking about doing away with internal combustion cars by 2035. Do you think the car culture of California can survive all of these challenges that's coming up?
Well, first of all, I think we got to get rid of our governor by about 1035 today. So that guy's an idiot. The car culture is always going to survive, right? You're not going to be able to stop us. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think. And listen, we're all into clean air, and we're all into helping the environment, stuff like that. But constantly attacking one group over another is ridiculous. I mean, I think, as far as the auto manufacturers have done a great job doing, fuel efficient vehicles and stuff like that. It's not the car hobby that's hurting that. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but it'll survive. It's always survived. It's visceral. It's part of us. You cannot explain to someone the emotional connection to that bullet car that's sitting over there.
Yep.
You can't.
You can't. I mean, one of my great memories, Pete Shaporis, when he was alive, SoCal Speed, I went out there and just visited with him and walked around his shop. And somebody was getting a 32 Ford Roadster delivered, and they brought it back from fueling it up. And it was sitting between the buildings with this real lopey cam, just sounding cool. And the sun was setting. I was like, wow, I'm having a California car culture moment here. It looked beautiful. It sounded badass, and the weather was beautiful. I was like, okay, that's what it's about for me.
Yeah, it's really up to us. I mean, I'm thinking about which Mustang I'm going to build for my son. I want to be able to hand that stuff down. There's a smile on when I take him out in my Cobra or take him on one of my cars. There's a smile on his face. I'm like, what car's your favorite? He's like, I like that one. And we go out. I mean,
how old is he?
He's 10.
Wow, good. Future car guy. I like it. I like that a lot. New technology, TV wise, just moving it back to TV. Anything new that you would think would be coming up that would enhance TV? I mean, I always talk about holographic stuff and who knows what, but anything on the forefront that you think would tell stories better?
No. No, I don't think it's telling stories better. I can tell you this is that, storytelling is an old art, right?
Right.
I have purposely, I used to rack my brain around 2000, around 99, 2000, like, oh my God, the convergence is coming. How do we produce for this little thing, right? So
right.
What I really figured out is I don't care about the delivery system, right? Because content is going to survive. Good storytelling is going to survive. And I don't care if they beam it to your glasses, you see it on your phone, on your bathroom wall, your computer. It doesn't matter to me, right? So the convergence is a whole other system, and it's a whole other ecosystem for convenience, right? But custom content and good storytelling is always going to survive, right? And what I mean by that is, guys who have the ability to make custom content, guys like us, you're making custom content with your podcast and radio shows, and people want to special interest groups. People I deal with, everybody wants to build custom content, right? And everybody wants to see custom content because, people forget that, 15, 20 years ago, let's say 25 years ago, there was 3 channels. When we were growing up,
Yep.
have the ability to choose, right? We either watched MASH, 60 Minutes, or some other thing that we didn't want to watch, or reruns of I Love Lucy, right?
And that's why when I got into the TV industry, they said, you'll never make it. Your dad didn't do it. Your uncle didn't do it. Forget it. You'll never get in. Then I had to do it.
Yeah, you have to. But now there's so many choices, and TV is a personal choice. And it doesn't matter if it's Netflix or DVR. So the thing that's going to change and do the most for our life and our business is, and it's the most important thing for my life, right? Which is the people are choosing. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not a network executive. It's not an ad executive. It's not some random guy going, this is going to be great. Then the people are going to watch it. Right? No. Put it on Netflix. Look what people are watching. Right?
Yeah.
I want them to vote. You vote with your viewership. You vote with your time. I am asking people for the most precious thing in their life, which is an hour of their time.
Yep.
Right? We only have so many of them. And I'm asking, so I want to be able to deliver them storytelling. So I'm not concerned about the delivery mechanism. All I do know is the demand is up, right? We know through the quarantine, the demand is up. I mean, everybody, including you, watched every stupid documentary that Netflix had. I'm like, okay, I'm out of I watched 40 of them. Like, I'm out of documentaries, right? And then I'll call Netflix, like, you need more documentaries. Here, buy 5 of mine. I mean, it's like, we are consuming more content than ever, right? Because of the delivery system, the choosing the time and sitting on a plane and watching 5 documentaries and all that stuff, we're consuming much more content. And because there is much more content, and because it's so easy and it's so easy to choose, we are choosy with our time, right? You want to watch, some good, Chad McQueen made a documentary about his dad called Le Mans. It was amazing. I sat there and watched him like, this thing is so good. And I want to give my time to that. And if it's a crap and I don't want to watch it, I'll turn it off. Like I'll skip the channel and go to something else that really is worth my time watching. So custom content, people who build custom content, I'm going to focus on storytelling, and I'll let the boys up in Silicon Valley figure out all the technology stuff.
Bud, if people want to kind of figure out where all your programming is and what you do, what's your website?
Oh, wait, hold on. I got a whole list of those. I don't know. Okay. So, we have a BCII TV, bciitv.com is our website. Facebook is BCII Production. Same thing with Instagram and Twitter. We have a YouTube page under BCII Productions. We really just kind of post a lot of our trailers, a lot of what we're doing, some behind the scenes stuff that we're working on. So yeah, we're trying to make a conscious effort to put out there what we've been doing and promote what we're doing, because what we do is so important, and what we're doing in our industry is pretty interesting.
Bud Brutsman, we really appreciate you talking to us, and thanks for your time. I think you should now go get that Mach 1 that you talked about.
I know I tease my brother every day. I'm like, look at this. I'm going to go check this out.